Welcome to Sports Management Podcast, where you will hear interesting sports management professionals share their stories, experiences, and passion for the sports management industry. I am your host, Marcus Philipson. Welcome to episode 170 of Sports Management Podcast. Today's guest is Marcos del Pilar, co-founder and commissioner of Pro Padel League, the Director of PadelMBA, an entrepreneur, or simply put, the Godfather of Padel. Marcos more or less brought Padel to the United States, and his vision is nothing less than making a better world through Padel. We spoke about Padel in the US, the future of Padel, being homeless, his upcoming book, Making a Better World Through Padel, how Netflix is a competitor to Padel, and much more. Marcos del Pilar, welcome to Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you, my man. Thank you very much for the invite. I'm blessed. Thank you for the opportunity.
The pleasure is all mine. So you are the co-founder of Pro Padel League, and you have spent almost 20 years now in the racket sports and padel, and become a little bit of a legend, a living legend in the field, I would say. So can you talk a little bit about how you got introduced to padel in the first place?
Well, it's almost 30 years. In fact, I'm becoming very old. I think it's almost 30 years because my first tennis school, I built that when I was only 14. And I just turned 46 kind of a week ago. So it's over 30 years, 32 in fact. So plenty of experience. And yeah, so I was running, I'm building my own tennis academies in Spain. I come from tennis. I used to be a tennis professional player. And then I was running different academies and facilities on my own, because some of our members asked for some padel and so on. We ended up including some courts. And I discovered, an entire new business model that I could expand within our current audience and making people come more often to our facilities. And then I start making some cross-selling strategies. And I discovered something that was absolutely amazing. So my world completely changed because of padel, and then I got the commitment of change the world through padel again, and getting a lot of more people, involved in the industry and so on. So it was, very back in the years.
Yeah, wow. And it's a big statement, make a better world through padel.
It is, but it's the way that I understand life. And this is kind of the message that I'm delivering all over the world, like we can make a better world through padel while creating opportunities for everyone. That was my commitment when I first came to the US. I wanted to open a new entire industry for millions of people to come. At that point, nine years ago, nobody was paying attention to what I was saying. Nobody could believe. I was kind of the visionary, the crazy guy, pushing something that it was probably me and just a few folks, believing on this dream. And now everything is changing. After 9 years of working really, really hard, I think we built the map of alliances for the sport. We built a bunch of successful, business cases, that we are spreading out. And then, we got the American institutions involved. And now the environment is completely different. Now we are living, the dream that I always had in my mind. Now what I'm saying, in all the conferences is padel is already here. Padel is a reality in the US. The amount of projects that are coming along, are absolutely fantastic. The groups that are jumping into this are very, very strong, stronger every day, I would say. And I'm super happy to live this and to keep leading, the movement in North America.
Yes, because obviously padel has in like Spain, Argentina has been an established sport for a long time, and then it moved into a little bit Northern Europe. So Sweden had a huge hype during COVID, and has also, although it's a little bit less hype now, it's still like a strong sport. But how did you feel like the Americans welcomed padel, and now from you, because now starting Pro Padel League and everything, but in the beginning, how were their interest for padel?
Well, I think we needed to overpass, a few challenges, like a new racket sport coming into the equation, the use of space, the build out, some stoppers, that, and also making people believe that there was a space, for another alternative here. being tennis, the majority, I would say, growing sport in America, also the success of pickleball, and the way that it was, growing every day, that was kind of challenging also because they were perceiving us kind of a Latin sport, for a few folks, and a small niche and so on. So we needed to Americanize kind of the sport. And that is where the Pro Padel League in this case came into the equation, to make it the sport of paddle, a little bit more appealing, for the American audience. So we needed to make some tweaks that we did, to make it, massive in the US and to provide more exposure. We put that on millions of households, in America. So providing that exposure and getting the sport in top of mind, of people in the industry and creating more fans and so on. That was, a big help. But at the beginning, obviously, I don't know how many people I pitched 9 years ago, like it was kind of my daily basis job, pitching to basically everyone. And now, I'm lucky enough to keep those connections, to keep those, relationship and to build, what I built, this solid relationship and foundations with people that could be interested in the growth of the sport. And now, they are coming back to me and say, hey, Marcos, now is the time. Everything happened exactly on the same way that you told us, a couple of years ago. You were right. We didn't listen at that time, but now we are ready to listen. So what is the best way to deploy our investment? So I think, and I'm very proud that they are coming back to me, as the main contact, to drive all those investments and to create this new ecosystem for them as well. So I'm extremely happy, to work with some groups that I work with and, to keep building this with the umbrella that I told you, the umbrella of creating opportunities for people and making a better world. It sounds kind of romantic, but this is my vision for life, and I'm very committed to my mission.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned that you needed to Americanize Padel a little bit. So what were some tweaks that had to be done in order to fit into the American market?
Well, we needed to follow kind of the traction of other leagues, happen in America, with the two conferences, with the idea of the all-star game and a draft, and everything that is very, very, very familiar for the American audience in other sports like NHL, NFL, MLS, and so on. And we needed to make it like something that could resonate, I would say, with the American audience. So they find it like, oh yeah, we know what we are talking about. So they don't feel that paddle, is being implemented on the way that has been played in Europe or South America for so many years, and everybody needs to adapt. So we are trying to make it accessible and to make the American audience to resonate with that by creating those small tweaks that at the very end of the day, I think they are making a huge impact.
What is your long-term vision for Padel in the US, if we start there?
Well, I always thought, about making this sport of paddle massive. That is kind of the main goal. And that was what is getting me up, every morning. I want this sport of paddle to be massive, in the US. I also think that there's still a lot of room, for doing things different. I usually say that creativity and disruption are part of my DNA. I think we all need to make an effort to become more customer-centric, and start understanding, our audiences much better to be able to create products that resonate with the audience and are creating recurrent revenue and are creating this customer retention that is so important. Because that, like becoming customer-centric and putting your customers, in the center of every single decision that you are making and doing everything for and by them, is boosting this expected, feeling of belonging that is creating success in all the facilities that we are managing. I think that we are the experts on the field, on managing facilities and working with investment groups and venture capitals that are willing to deploy their investments here in the US. And the reason that they are picking us up is because of our, expertise for almost 30 years in very, very, very successful cases, all over the world. So by you feeling, boosting this feeling of belonging, obviously, everything becomes easier because you have kind of an audience that you can nurture, and you can offer. what they are looking for. And then you are always right on the programs that you are creating, because you already know that they are going to work, because you've been, asking to your audience first. And on the big picture, I would say that part of my goals is obviously showcasing the game, providing exposure to the sport, which is still, a need for all of us to keep growing. I'm working very, very actively on bringing investors in, like working with these venture capitals and investment groups and family offices that are willing to invest in North America. I'm very invested on that. I'm putting a lot of efforts on that. I would say also building a community of padel lovers that will become the army of ambassadors for the sport. And by doing so, I also think that it's important another business line that we explore in our company, which is padel education. Padel education becomes crucial. We are partners with the USPTA, United States Professional Tennis Association, on running these educational courses, padel certification in the US, as a way, to get everybody under the same umbrella and working under the umbrella of the American institutions. And then obviously, part of the time that I'm invested in is helping business owners to succeed and support them, in their padel projects. This is kind of my legacy as well. And I would say, helping also brands and different sponsors and partners, that are willing to land, in the padel ecosystem in North America. At the end of the day, is nothing but creating new, challenging, and attractive opportunities for everybody.
That's so exciting. And you mentioned the education there. So that's the PadelMBA piece, right?
PadelMBA USA, yes. We are running padel certification courses, in North America, including Canada as well, Canada and the US. We've been doing this it's almost 9 years already. We got over 700 coaches certified in the US with more than 70 or 75 courses in this period. We are growing very much. Now we are reinvesting in our coaches, because the main priority for me on that end is creating the space, for coaches to be developed, to grow and to have more opportunities, for the future. So it's not only providing education, but also taking care of them as much as we can. And for that reason, with the support of the USPTA, now we are offering, and this is kind of a game changer in the industry, we are offering a USPTA Padel membership, within the application of the Padel certification course. The cost of that is over $350. And just the fact that we are including that with all the benefits that the USPTA Padel membership is offering is a totally game changer. So basically, getting certified in Padel now, is kind of free, because you get more benefits, that you are paying for. In addition to the educational program, the online content, the in-person experience and everything, and obviously being certified. We are fully invested on that end. And I was having a discussion, last week with some coaches, and they were telling me like, hey, Marcos, we are so appreciative of what you are doing, because we can see how you are helping all of us out. You are becoming kind of the leader for all of us, because you are making the moves, for offering us, insurance, liability insurance, different benefits, and so on. So this is not a money maker for us. It's kind of a legacy, as I told you. I really want to build the army of ambassadors for the sport. I really want help, coaches to get better knowledge and to be able, to achieve their goals and better positions. And for that reason, we are fully invested on them. When they sign up for the certification, we are paying them back with everything that we got, including these benefits, welcome packs, and everything that we can.
I think the coaching piece is so important, right? Because I've been talking to people invested in padel in different ways from Sweden, UK, different parts of the States. And they have also the same thing, that the padel has grown so rapidly. So the coaching maybe hasn't increased in the same level. So, for example, in the UK, everyone wants to play paddle, but they don't have enough coaches to teach everyone. So I think that this is such a crucial element, what you're doing with the coaching education.
I appreciate that very much, and I have 2 points in here. One is that I'm the visionary for that. I was pushing that when nobody else was doing so, because I could expect exactly what is happening now. So once again, I was anticipating like 3 or 4 years of what was about to come, and I could envision this explosion happening in the US, and I wanted to get people ready. So that's why we started so early on getting this. Now is 700 people, but I agree with you 100%. The future of the sport is in the hands of the coaches and the fans, and obviously the ones that will be driving the growth by investment in infrastructure and building clubs and so on, for sure. But having the right people working on your facilities and managing and also driving the revenue side, because we need people that is not only educating on how to provide lessons, but also on how to run businesses. So I'm usually paying a lot of attention on this, because people here in America, they think like, oh, you know what, like, hey, I know how to buy some courts, I'm building 3 or 4 courts in here, so I perfectly know how to run a business. And that is not the case. So building courts is one thing, running a successful padel business is a completely different thing. And you need to know perfectly, what are the leverages, what are the tools that you can use. You need to know how to design the customer journey, what are the pricing policies that you need to put in place, how to create these recurrent opportunities, how to trigger the sales, and so on. That is not only building courts. Building courts, I would say, is not the easiest part, but it's kind of something that everybody can do. But being able to run successful padel businesses is not for everyone, unless they are educated. And we spend a lot of time on our padel certification courses, on helping them to understand the business model and putting together, some strategies as well for them to start thinking on how to make money. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we all love the sport. I'm the biggest advocate for padel, I would say, all over the world. They call me, the Godfather of Padel. And I'm very proud, to take the role, that all the media are using. But that is also bringing, a big responsibility on helping people to understand how to make money, right? Because this is a business. I usually say that we are not only on the racket sport industry, we are on the emotions industry. So we got to be able to leverage those emotions and to create that customer journey that I was talking about, to be able to facilitate, recurrent revenue coming in and making, facilities profitable as soon as possible.
Yeah, I love that, because that's what I saw in Sweden as well. The paddle places that opened like in a warehouse, they only had the courts and they didn't have what you said, like the consumer journey, and they didn't have something extra or coaching. Those places died out pretty fast. And the ones that really invested into their courts and had, the extra, maybe they had a small shop, they had educated staff, they had coaching programs, they had grassroots. Those were the places that stayed and thrived.
Agree. For me, it's almost, and we are working on some beautiful, projects that I would love to mention later on if you're open to that. But I think it's about creating an entire experience. It's not only what is happening on the court, but also what is happening outside, of the court, and how to design this environment for customers to stay longer in your facility, because more timing, spend, on the facilities is income coming in at the very end of the day. And also because once again, you are fully boosting this feeling of belonging that we were talking about before. And there are strategies for doing so, Marcus. There are strategies. So this is not, you cannot only leverage on, hey, you know what, padel is booming in America, so I'm building course and I'm sitting down just waiting for people to come because padel is awesome. Yeah, I know that padel is awesome, but you got to be able to execute, different strategies for making those, businesses succeed and highlight in front of other opportunities. And when I'm saying other opportunities, I'm not creating any competition in between padel facilities. It's not that, not even in between racket facilities. I'm not saying padel should be competing against tennis or pickleball or the other facility that somebody else built close to you. It's not that. I think we all are on the same boat, and we have a big opportunity for all of us to succeed together. But what I mean is that we gotta be able to be better than what I consider our competition. And I consider our competition things like inactivity, video games, maybe Netflix, and this kind of stuff. So we gotta be able to draft, a business model that is making us successful and start attracting what I usually call the blue ocean, start attracting customers that have never been connected with racket sports. That is where the crucial thing is. So being able to attract these 300 million people that have never been playing any other racket sports in America, and that is where, the big success for all of us is coming from. Instead of trying to convince, some tennis players to switch into paddle, it's not that. I mean, that crossover will happen kind of organically, and some pickleball players will come to paddle as well, and some paddle players will go to tennis. I'm super happy with that, but I think there's a lot of room for all of us, to explore how to start attracting, this blue ocean, these non-racket customers that are less price sensitive, by the way, because they have something, that is amazing, that is making them feel good, and under a strategy or an umbrella of this customer journey that I was explaining before, where actually you are offering them what they are looking for, and they are so happy that they cannot say no. And they become your biggest advocates, and they start attracting some other people, and the growth is super organic. So I don't know if I'm mixing things, but I would love you to see the entire vision, what is in my mind, this kind of entire ecosystem that is fully connected. And when you start doing things properly, everything happens on your own benefit. That is the key, for running successful paddle businesses.
So in US, a big part is college sports. Is that something that paddle could take part of as well?
I think so. Why not? I don't see that happening right away. For instance, here at the USTA National Campus, we are hosting, or we are kind of the home of some colleges, and they use the facility for that. So we offered that opportunity a couple of years ago for college to come here and start playing. That's, a way to go. That's a pathway to go. I don't see that happening, real quick, because we need to continue to build more facilities in the colleges, facilities to get them involved, to start creating kind of a college leagues and paddle to be part of the NCAAs and so on. But that's obviously something to keep in mind, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting piece. We have talked a lot about the future. You're obviously a, great visionary. But if we stop a little bit and look where we are right now, how do you see the current situation of paddle in the US? Any numbers, growth, data, something along those lines?
Well, as I told you before, paddle, the big title I would say is paddle is a reality in the US. It's already here. I think we are close to 400 courts or around that, including both public and private, over 60 facilities. And under my knowledge, I think that another 25 to 30 projects are being built as we speak. So we'll be close to 120 or something like that soon. I could envision, in 2025, being doubling the number of courts in America. In terms of participation, I would say that it's very similar to the rest of the world. I would say 45%, 45, are kind of women, 55 to 60 men. And the gross population is between, I would say, 30 to 55 years old. We still need to keep, working on the grassroots, and start, bringing more kids into the equation. In terms of approach, I would say that 70% of the new customers, are coming from the racket world, and another 30% are kind of newcomers coming from, no previous experience in racket sports. That's why, I see this industry growing in America, for the next 15, 20 years nonstop. The only thing that we need to keep in mind is how to grow with sustainability in the long term, which is kind of my my secondary goal now. Now that we are experiencing this unprecedented growth that we've been working so hard for. I think now is the moment to strategize and to build this new model for all of us to be sustainable in the long run, taking care of investors, taking care of manufacturers, taking care of sponsors, taking care of the coaches, and creating this space for all of us to succeed in the long run. Main goal, as I'm always saying, and some media are taking this, from other statements that I did in the past. I think that we'll be close to 20,000 courts and over 15 million players by 2030 in the US. That's kind of my estimate based on my experience in 13 different countries all over the world. I could envision this, over 20,000 courts and close to 15 million players, by the end of the decade.
That's something like 7-8% of the population playing padel in the US.
But that is where once again, Marcus, I hope that you agree with me on this. That is why, once again, we have this amazing opportunity, because the US has 330 million people living in here, with, I would say, somewhere in between 20 to 30 million connected with any other racket sports. What about the 290 million pending? So this is an incredible universe for all of us to become super successful. And that is why I never see any competition around. People are coming to me saying, Marcos, we love your mentality of no competition, that all of us are on the same boat, that we can work together and grow together. I say, bro, this is exactly the life that I want to live. This is exactly the environment for padel that I want to build in America, where all of us, are enjoying the journey and building something amazing for all of us in 10 or 15 years from now, to talk to each other and say, bro, look what we did together. Isn't it crazy? We built 20,000 courts. We built an entire industry from scratch. For a couple of years, I was mainly alone, just spreading the vision and spreading the word out, on my own. But now, we have a bunch of people working on this, and I'm so proud, right? Like, the more people we are into the ecosystem, the better. And I see this, being a very successful journey for all of us if we do the right things and we build this properly with, once again, the vision of being sustainable in the long run.
I love that mindset, and also with the competition that we're in this together, and we're helping the sport in different ways, and some more than others. You, of course, is pulling a heavy load in this way. But you said before, like, the competition in this case maybe be like Netflix or like inactivity. So what's the strategy to not only, like you said, not to transfer people from other sports, but to take people who hasn't been active in sports before and get them into padel?
Well, that is where I think the big success for all of us is, first of all, because the crossover is going to happen. I'm not saying that some tennis players will end up playing padel as well. For sure, it will happen. Padel is amazing for everyone, as well as, some padel players will play tennis or maybe some pickleball every once in a while. But at the end of the day, the bigger and the better your offering is from the facility standpoint, the more opportunities you have, to engage with this audience, right? So if you and this is exactly what I did, with my tennis facilities in the past. So let's say that my average visit, in Spain for tennis was once or twice per week, on a tennis academy or tennis school, right? And by creating this padel venue, I was creating a pathway for people to come more often. So those that were coming to my facility once or twice per week, they ended up, coming to my place for 5 or 6 times per week, right? So 2 of them playing tennis, another 2 of them playing padel. We were inviting them to a racket sport event during the weekend, bringing their wives and so on. So at the very end of the day, if we can create different pathways, and paths, for them to experience more time and to come more often to our facilities, I don't see any competition at all. So we got to be generous as well, Marcus. So if you have 3 or 4 different offerings, for your customers, and they are playing pickleball and having fun, I don't have any issue with that. If they want to play tennis twice per week, I'm a big fan and a big supporter of tennis too. And also by adding padel, you are creating this opportunity for them to come once or twice more times, per week. So once again, I don't see any competition in regard of, inactivity, Netflix, video games, and so on. Of course, I see a big opportunity for us to compete, not only with paddle, but any racket sport. And you were asking me for what are the keys, for making this happen. Well, that is where creativity and disruption are coming into the equation. So we got to be able to think outside the box. And this is kind of my main expertise. I think that I'm a visionary. I'm a disruptive person. I'm very innovative. I'm very creative on creating opportunities for people to feel attracted, to try this sport. And since paddle is easy to learn and hard to master, what I usually explain, if you know what you are doing and you implement this customer journey, is very likely that all these customers that are coming for the first experience and you are creating this pathway for them to come more often will end up becoming your customers. I don't want to give you the final keys in here because obviously, that's part of my job, when we provide consultancy, for different venture capitals and investment groups, but I would stop in there, creativity. And also, once again, understanding your audience. You need to be able to understand what your audience is looking for. And then when you just simply propose that, you will see that people simply sign up, and they are excited and they start bringing people in and the applications are always full. This is something that, Marcus, we are also doing on the educational pathway. The Padel certification. So we are bringing people in that are not connected with the racket industry. And I'm very, very proud to say this. I'm extremely proud to bring people from outside the industry to get in touch with Padel education, to build a career, to understand the foundations of the sport and to be able to build something, and start teaching and to build their career or getting a side job or getting other opportunities. But once again, we are also doing that on the educational side. We know how to attract people that is not connected with this field. And I'm extremely proud and happy to do so.
That's fantastic. And it's great also to get for these people to get into paddle. They might bring a new perspective in and, we can all learn from each other in that way.
Agreed. 1,000,000%, Marcus. Thank you for saying that because that is also connected with my beginner's mentality, my idea of learning every day, because I'm open to do so. I'm very open to do so. And that's why I feel so comfy, bringing people from outside, even from other sports, people that are connected with biking, with other sports, and they have, kind of a fresh vision of this. And I listen to them as well. Because the fact that we've been doing in our industry things, in the same way for the last 20, 30 years, it doesn't automatically mean that is the only way to do so. So once again, being disruptive, being innovative, being creative is being open. In my case, I'm very open to listen. I'm very open to learn. I'm very open to explore. And I'm very open to be wrong. So I love being wrong because being wrong for me is a closer step to be right. And that is, a big learning piece for me as well. So I love being wrong and exploring things that are not working, but I even enjoy that, exploring something that is not working and is disruptive is something that is making me, very, very, very happy and excited. And the Pro Padel League in this case, was kind of one of those examples, hey, we created something that nobody else in the world created. We were disruptive enough for putting together a format that was completely unknown. I was doing an exercise of lateral marketing, bringing things, from other sports, yes, but we created a product that nobody else did before. And that one, was successful. That is still very successful, and I'm happy. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you learn that what you are putting together doesn't work. But I enjoy the journey as well. I enjoy, being wrong and trying something that nobody else is trying. And this is part of the experience, of life for me. I work with different groups, and I'm always pushing them to do something, to think outside the box, and to do something that nobody else is doing. And some of them are fully supportive. I'm working, on a beautiful project that is called Excel Padel. Excel Padel is, a fantastic group. We are building, like 2 massive locations in Central Florida, indoor ones. I'll provide more details when I'm able to do so. But I love this project because Excel Padel, for instance, is going to change the entire world of sports, in America. Their approach is completely disruptive, is paddle based, 100%, indoor facilities with wellness as well, but also the approach. You will enjoy that when you see that. It's an approach that is touching, a premium target, a very elevated experience for customers, that is not only connected with paddle, but any other opportunities for people to interact, to enjoy the experience, to entertain themselves as well, and to take care of their bodies. So putting all these things together is amazing, and having people behind that is backing you up, and they are disruptive enough, and believe in the vision of doing something that is outside the box is making me very happy. And I can tell you that these projects, will be extremely successful. They are going to change the entire world of paddle in America. I can tell you.
Bold statement. I like it.
Yeah, thank you.
You mentioned before that you had some projects that you're working on, and we can talk about them. So Excel Padel is one. Some other projects going on as well?
Yeah, I work with different investment groups, on a consultancy basis. Sometimes, I become investor as well. Sometimes our company, is providing the service only. So we have different venues to work with venture capitals, investment group, and family offices. There are, a couple of projects, that are happening in America that are super cool, that I really love. Reserve, for instance, I like their approach. I think they are doing a pretty good job. Sensa Paddle House with Santi Gomez, on top, they are doing pretty well as well. The Paddle Plant opening the first facility in Richmond, Virginia. This is, something to keep in mind as well. This is the group that is behind, is awesome, is fantastic. A couple of families, that are now jumping into paddle with a very evolved vision as well. First facility being opened in Richmond, Virginia, in a hydro plant that is being converted, into a paddle facility, paddle and pickleball, 2 pickleball facilities, and with plans, to build more facilities along the way as well. So paddle plant is something that we all should keep in mind as well. And I work with other groups. I appreciate the job that some venture capitals like EP Capital, for instance, they are doing. Chris Iso is the founder, and Marcus Jansson is the CEO of the company. Kudos to them and the job that they are doing, spreading the word out, and helping, a lot of entrepreneurs. They are handpicking the best entrepreneurs for paddle in America, and they are co-investing with them, to help them to succeed. So yeah, I mean, and some other projects. I don't want to miss anyone, and my apologies for not mentioning everyone for sure. But there are, super exciting things happening in America for sure.
Sounds like it. So you have a lot of balls in the air at the same time, pun intended. And, this entrepreneurial spirit that you obviously have, you've had, from a very, very young age. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't really know, Marcus. I think that I built my first tennis school kind of by accident. When I was 14, I was playing the tennis tour. I got injured. I wanted to use my time, properly. And since I couldn't practice for a summer, I told my dad to sign me up, for a first tennis course. I wanted to become a coach and understanding the game of tennis at that point, a little bit better. And during that summer, being 14, this is kind of crazy, but I was 14, and I decided that I wanted to make the exercise, to follow all the steps, like I was building, kind of banners, putting them on lights, in the middle of the street, just as an exercise. I was not actually willing to build a tennis business, but I was experiencing what I was taught in those educational courses, right? And then I start receiving calls and people telling me like, "Oh, Marcos, I would love you to teach my kids." And then I build the first group, and then the second, and then the third. Obviously, I discovered that I had a very special talent, that I think I still keep today. It's very inspiring. People are telling me that I'm kind of the Tony Robbins of padel, right? Like bringing fresh air, bringing inspiration, bringing guidance, bringing belief, bringing support, and making people believe, in achieving their own goals. And I still think that I keep that from that early stages. I discovered really soon that I was very good, making people improve on the court and getting them excited and so on. And after 3 months, I had a business without thinking about it. I had over 80 students, me being 14. Don't forget that, Marcus. So I was 14 years old and I had, over 80 students playing tennis in my neighborhood. Everybody was connected with tennis somehow. Everybody was super excited about tennis. And then the rest is history, man. After that, I took over, one facility when I was 17. I had like 15 people working for me. Then I built the second facility and I was, growing at the same time that I was studying, by the way. I was finishing my degree, finishing my master's, my first MBA, then my second, then my third. So getting some senior management positions in big brands connected to padel and tennis. And I was doing everything at the same time. So that's why I think that I'm so used to overtask, or to multitask in this case, because my entire life has been the same. I've been always doing several things at a time and just being very, very committed, to get things, to the finish line. And that is part of my identity. I think people come to us, because they know that we under promise, over deliver. And we are the kind of people that we get everything to the finish line. And we are very committed, and we put our pencils and our hands where our mouth is. So we always commit and deliver.
I mean, I know you're an optimist. I know that you see a failure as, you just move on, you learn from that. But has there been any bumps on the road in your career? And if so, how have you overcome them?
Well, a lot of them, Marcus. Whoever is thinking that the American dream is kind of easy, is not easy. I'm happy, and I live, under gratitude and appreciation. I'm very appreciative, for the world giving me those opportunities to improve, and also for sending me those big challenges that I needed to overpass. And I still overpass every day, to get to the point that we are at. But yeah, I lived, in very difficult moments, one of them being living in the streets. Not a lot of people know about this, but I'm telling you now that in this American dream journey, I felt myself, a couple of years ago with nowhere to live, and just keep pushing, and keep working and just believing in myself and believing in the vision. And I took it, as a way to demonstrate myself that my love for padel and my love for my mission in life was powerful enough to keep going. So I took the best of that, challenging and sad situation. But, yes, I would say that not only that, living in the street, kind of a homeless, but, so many things that we've been dealing with, like, I think that every single project has, a lot of up and downs. And that's why, selecting the partners for the future is so important, because when these down are coming, you just need to be surrounded by people that you love, but people that you respect, and people that do the same for you. And when that happens, you are in a safe environment where growth is the only way, where improvement is the only way, and commitment and respect are the way to go.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that you had been homeless, living on the streets. I do a lot of research for these episodes, but I haven't seen that anywhere.
No, well, this is not something that I usually tell people, but why not? I'm writing a book that is about to be published, and I was mentioning that in that book, and I, when I was writing this, I said, hey, if you are putting this on the book, there's no reason to hide that. And I'm not saying that, like for people to feel discouraged. It's just the opposite. The only reason that I'm mentioning that is just to get people inspired to say, hey, even when you will be in tough moments and dark moments, there's always a light in the tunnel. It's just a matter of being consistent enough to keep, pushing hard, to be able to keep believing. because I don't think you can find yourself in the toughest moment that I was. And look at me, and also I think it's fair, because when people are just simply following social media, and all of us, tend to sell our successes, right? All of us tend to put out there, the good things that are happening to you, but nobody is putting your darkest moment. I'm happy to share my darkest moments too, as a way to get people inspired, as a way to get people, excited to overcome, difficulties.
Yeah. So how long time were you homeless for?
A couple of days.
Hmm.
And then at that point, I needed to come back to Spain. That was, very, very tough, but universe is providing, I think that what I was doing was right. I was not lucky enough, I didn't select, the right people, maybe. And then, suddenly out of the air, another opportunity came to me, and everything changed. And I'm super grateful, for those things happening. And I'm also grateful, listen what I told you, I'm also grateful for the darkest moments, Marcus. I'm very grateful for that, because that they are part of the reason of the person that I'm today. So going through all those difficulties are building me, the quality of human being that I'm today. And I'm very appreciative, of the things that are happening around me because of those moments too. So I'm also proud of them, to be honest.
I understand that. So you mentioned a book. That's exciting. Is it a, biography, or is it something around paddle, or can you tell us anything?
Yeah, I can tell you that it's kind of setting my own thoughts, of my own journey, by building an entire new industry in the US, while also setting life and business lessons. So it's kind of my own story, the steps that I was making along the way, but also setting the lessons, life and business lessons that I learned along the way, in case of people, are interested in knowing more about how Padel was built, in the US, and also with all these life and business, lessons that I took for myself that I would love to share with people. The main reason that I'm doing so is mainly for myself, because I wanted to put that on a book that will last, forever. I will stay forever. But maybe some people see, a lot of value on that too. Like, hey, I think the way that I express myself is always very inspiring, and that's the main goal of the book as well. Getting people inspired about, how to build, the American dream with all these challenges while building, the fastest growing sport in the world in America.
I look forward to reading that for sure.
I'll let you know when it's ready. The title is A Secret Code of Padel. So a lot of things, going on in there. I'm very, very excited, and it will come, to reality very, very soon.
Exciting. With a long career in the paddle, and you said, ups and downs and a lot of projects, what is your best advice for someone who wants to work in sports, or maybe even in the paddle industry?
Well, I'm not going to say something that is connected with racket sports. I would say that you got to be a good human being, Marcus, because good things happen to beautiful people all the time. And I think that when you leverage on generosity, when you leverage on creating good emotions for people around, when you help people around you, when you have good feelings, there's no possible way that life or universe is not paying you back. So whether you want to work in racket sports or whatever you want to do in life, you got to be this quality of human being that you should be proud of, to have as a friend, for instance. Or let's say that I really want to become the quality of human being that I want to be proud of. And that's my mantra, right? That's, what is in my mind every morning. I want to be a better person. I want to help people. I want to help them to succeed. I want to see, laughs and smiles in everybody's faces around me. I want them to think of me as somebody that was making a better world for them. And the rest, will come along the way. If you have, a special ability for teaching paddle or teaching tennis or whatever, you can use that. You should actually use that as a way to change the world with a racket in your hands. But the main goal, once again, is try to build a better world. And obviously, understanding, you will tell me, yeah, Marcos, but what about, the business model connected to paddle? Yes, but that is more connected with the business. And this is something that we actually do, with a lot of venture capitals and different investment groups, as I told you before. But there's something that we don't teach, which is how you can improve yourself for being the person that you are proud of. And when you build this around you, man, opportunities come to you all the time. And I have people around that are telling me, like, Marcos, do you see yourself, man? Like, everybody's calling you, for help. Everybody is calling you for getting advice, everybody. And you are so generous. You are helping people all over the place. And I feel proud of that, man. I'm very proud of that, to be honest. More than any other achievements in my career, that I have a bunch of them, but I'm very proud to be a beautiful human being, and people, thinking that I'm making a big impact in their lives.
I heard a while back that people will remember how you made them feel. They will not remember maybe what you told them or what you did for them, but they will remember how they make you feel. And that, being a good person and treating people well, that goes a long way.
100%, man. As I told you before, I agree 1,000,000% on that. As I told you before, I think we are on the emotions industry. It's not only about the way that you explain the forehand or the backhand volley, which is important for sure, having that educational umbrella, with the foundations and progressions and so on. You need to understand what you are doing on the court, 100%. But you will never be remembered for the way that you were explaining the forehand volley. You will be remembered for the quality of human being, for the emotions that you were able to create around you, for the steps that you were making for people to achieve their own goals, and for making an impact on people's life. And that is also what is boosting the big following. People tend to spend time with leaders that are providing that feeling, that experience, that vibe, that emotion, right? So our mission as leaders, I think, that is making people believe in the impossible, making people believe and have, an environment to grow, and getting them inspired, and this is also something that we can apply to our fans, to our clients as well. And at the very end of the day, when they are comfy, they tend to come more often, and they follow what you put in place, whether it is, a league, whether it is, different programs, tournaments, whatever. It's just a matter of creating that space where people feel proud of, if that makes sense.
Definitely, 100%. Is there something I haven't asked you yet that you want to mention?
I would love to mention, and give, credibility and exposure to all those brands, that are making investments here in the US, like Bull Padel now. I'm sponsored by Bull Padel, but Bull Padel now, USA, with Luis Carrero running it, they are making, a big move to be one of the biggest players in America. I think that this is, something to mention, of course, and every single company that is working, on growing the paddle ecosystem, I think they gotta have, some recognition, because I respect everybody's, effort, and the vision to do this. Some American companies, Sports Specialties, it's an American company that they are building American courts. And this is, a big milestone for all of us. I have a lot of good friends, in other brands and so on. But in this case, I want to highlight that, because the fact that one American company is fully invested, building an entire factory and working on this, is a clear statement, of the vision that they have for the future of paddle in the US, right? So building an entire factory, everything is American made, with super high quality, with American installers and so on. I want to give them the credit, with obviously no damage for all the good brands, that are doing great things as well. But I think that they should have, some space, in this kind of podcast as well, to explain their vision and why they are doing that, right? But yeah, in general, I'm very grateful, and I just wanna keep, the spirits up, the spirits up, for everybody involved in this industry. I think that we all should be creating this environment where actually we can work together, pushing the sport of paddle to become Olympic, which is kind of my next goal as well. I'm very, very invested on this as well. I would love paddle to become Olympic. I know the International Paddle Federation is working really hard on that, and kudos to them for doing so. And some other players, working on that end too. But I would love to spread the message, of unity. Unity is great for conquering the largest market in the world. The US is going to become the largest market in the world by far. And I have, a hope and a vision for all of us to work together with no hesitancies, with no competition, just helping each other, providing support to each other and making something memorable for all of us, because there's room for everybody to be successful at the same time. And I would love to experience that, to be honest. I truly believe that there's room for all this big change, to keep building facilities and to be successful, and all of us, to attract more and more millions of customers. I think that there's room for all of us to be in an environment where 20, 30 million players will be playing padel in North America. And that is changing, the universe for all of us.
I love that. So you talked a little bit about it there, some brands that you work with that might have this platform. So I usually end with a networking question. So who from your network do you think would be a good guest on this podcast?
Well, I think that there are two people that I would love you to bring in. One is probably Chris Iso. He is the founder of EEP Capital, as I told you. He's doing, amazing things for the sport of padel, not only in America, but in the rest of the world. He's kind of a visionary as well. He's very business-minded, and he's also very disruptive. I would also you to have the CEO of Excel Padel, Irina Rysuk. She's the CEO of the company, and she's not only a brilliant entrepreneur, a brilliant CEO, plenty of experience, a marketing guru and so on, but also she's a female, taking these leadership positions. And I love that environment. I'm a big advocate of two things. One is building the next generation of American players in America. And second is creating and boosting opportunities for ladies and females on leadership positions. So I'm a very big advocate for that. And in this case, Irina Rysuk is a brilliant CEO running this project, Excel Padel, that I was telling you before. And I think that her approach, that would be very, very beneficial for your audience. Also because she's a woman, and I would love her to tell you about the different challenges and experiences, that those kind of positions are bringing to the table for her.
That's really two really good guests. Thank you for that.
I'll make the arrangements for you, because I think your audience will enjoy that very, very much. And she can obviously explain you better, what the vision of the company is, what are the milestones that will be accomplishing, like the different approach that I told you, looking for this premium experience, elevated experience, for I would say a high-end market, because Central Florida, is a market that can absorb that opportunity for customers around the area. But she would be able to explain you that, in a fantastic way. And also, once again, Chris Iso, in this case, because he was my biggest supporter. When I founded the Pro Padel League, Chris Iso was the one that gave me the support from day one. He was the one that bought the first team, LA Vid. And he's always been a big supporter, of padel in America, of myself as well. And he's an incredible human being that I don't want you to miss to know, man. He's a fantastic human being. And you can probably bring Marcus, his CEO, of the fund as well. Maybe you can interview both of them at a time, or up to you.
No, really good guests. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Sounds good, man.
Marcus, thank you so much for taking the time, and I hope we can meet live sometime. And if you're ever in Sweden, we'll hook up and have some play some paddle.
Thank you very much for the opportunity once again. If anyone is more interested, in learning more about padel in the US and creating these opportunities, feel free to drive me or drive them to me. I'll be happy to help. And let's leave this, with kind of the biggest statement that I would love all of us to have more fun, to enjoy the game, to attract more customers, more players, and above all this, let's make a better world through padel. ¡Vamos!
Thank you for listening to the Sports Management Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought about this episode. If you want to get in contact with me, send an email to sportsmpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @sportsmpodcast.